Welcome to the Parenting Power Podcast, supporting parents with the real-life tools they need to raise the confident, interdependent people the world needs. Gail Bell and Julie Friedman-Smith interview experts who share their knowledge to assist parents in creating a home environment where kids can thrive.
Welcome to the Parenting Power Podcast. This is Julie Friedman-Smith.
And I'm Gail Bell.
It's great to introduce you to another expert who can support your family's growth. Today, we are speaking with Jennifer House, one of the nutritionists behind First Step Nutrition. Jennifer is a mom of three, a registered dietitian and nutritionist with a master's degree in nutrition. She works one-on-one with clients and helps families to decrease the overwhelm and stress. Jennifer is also an author, and her book, The Parent's Guide to Babyled Weaning, is full of great tips and recipes. It's wonderful to have you here today to share tips for families with all different ages of children. Welcome, Jennifer.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
Jennifer, at Parenting Power, we're always encouraging families to eat together, and we know that you recently wrote a blog about exactly that. What do you suggest to make that easier for families as schedules get full and people are always on the go?
We know the benefits of eating meals together, at least 5 family meals a week, and your children will have a more nutritious diet. They do better in school. They have a lower risk of drug and alcohol use. And it's not necessarily the food, but the connecting at meals. It certainly does get busy with our schedules, kids after school activities. So I like to tell families that it doesn't necessarily have to be dinner that they eat together. If Saturday morning breakfast works or they can all meet for lunch, that all counts. So another thing about family meals is it doesn't necessarily have to be at home around the dinner table. If you're off to watch one of your kids' baseball games, just throw in a blanket and some sandwiches, and the rest of you can sit around and have a picnic and watch the game. So, as many kids as you can fit into the meal according to your schedule, the better, but sometimes on the go is okay and has to happen too.
I love that it can be different meals because we all just have to make it really fit our own families. And you mentioned that mealtimes are a time of connection. What are your suggestions to increase the opportunities for families to connect with each other during mealtimes?
Well, I think the number one thing is to get rid of distractions. And nowadays that tends to be our cell phone is our major distraction. So I like to keep those off of the table. No cell phones at the table, no iPads, no iPods, the TV's off, so that you actually can focus on your family and your kids and the food. And then I like to have some conversation starters. Otherwise, often it just turns into bickering or complaining about the food. So I know my kids really love to share their highs and their lows from the day. And that gives them a chance to talk about their day, as well as they have to take turns listening to others at the table too. So we really like doing that, just catching up on everyone's day and connecting. And then another important thing is to avoid making it about the food or avoid fighting with your picky eater. A lot of families' dinner time is actually stressful. They're worried that their kid isn't eating, or the kid is complaining about the food. So I like to have the rule as well that there's no yuck at the table. So the parent doesn't have to worry about how much the kid eats. They don't have to force, pressure, or bribe them to eat. But on the other side, the kid is not allowed to say, yuck, I don't like this. I mean, that's an insult to the cook, right? So they can choose not to eat it. But please, no negative talk about the food.
Those are really great ideas. And as Jen, as you meant stating a rule, Julie and I always like to remind parents that it's best to do that Sunday at a family meeting and just when they review their week. So I was also thinking of your suggestion, 5 meals a week minimum together. You can also get that in your weekly schedule too when you're planning your whole schedule or a family meeting with your family. So that's just a really support system for parents to know that it's happening and perhaps take some stress off them versus, have we eaten together or not, where you can look at it as a whole week. That's great. So involving our kids in the process of preparing meals can often enhance children's interest in the meal itself. What tips do you have around getting kids involved?
That's so true. If a child is allowed to even pick out a new vegetable to try at the grocery store, help set the table, help prepare the food. They take some pride and ownership in that, so they're definitely more likely to branch out and try something new if that's one of the things they struggle with. So I do like to get them involved as much as you can, and it, of course, will depend on their age and their ability, what they're able to do. But even for elementary school age children, they can definitely at least help with picking out a recipe that they'd like to have for dinner that week, which helps you with the meal planning too. And then for kids, definitely by junior high, they should be able to put together a simple meal for the family. So you could give each child one night of the week where they get to choose the recipe and cook it for the family. And that, of course, helps set them up with some very important lifetime skills that they'll need once they move out of the house, too.
That's right. And we even know that toddlers and preschoolers can help in tiny ways with setting the table, getting their dishes out of a low cupboard. So you're right, involving them in whatever way is age appropriate can really pull everyone into that mealtime. Jennifer, when you're working with families, I know this from our experience in working with families, that as much planning as we put into these communal meal times where we want to have connection, it doesn't always go perfectly. Do you find with some of your clients that they tell you about times that it's not all going according to plan?
Yeah, the thing that I think probably brings the most stress to parents is that they're worried that their child is not eating enough. So I like to encourage the parents to follow Ellen Satter's division of responsibility, which just allows the parent to choose the where, the what, and the when of eating, and then the child's only roles are if or how much they eat. So when the parent knows that it's not their role to get their child to eat or to control the amount their child is eating, that just takes so much pressure off of both the parent and the child. And we want dinner time to be as pleasant as possible. So if we can decrease some of that stress, the stress hormones, the cortisol that might be rolling around the family table really doesn't set anybody up with an appetite to eat. So we will run into throwing food, and kids go through all these different stages. But as much as we can kind of try and keep it relaxed and positive place, the better.
Wonderful. So getting those clear expectations and realistic expectations, we always talk with families about. We can have a vision for how it's going to work, but even if it's not going perfectly, I'd love your point about outlining, taking responsibility for what you can control and handing that responsibility out to each person in the family.
Right, and again, letting the kids know before the meal that eating is their responsibility and you're not going to make it yours. I think that's fantastic, because whether we want to or not, you're right, Jennifer, as parents we worry that our kids are eating enough, and I think kids are so awesome but also so clever that they can sometimes play that game, maybe not eat a proper breakfast or lunch, but say I'm hungry, and then they get the sugared yogurt tube or something like that versus sitting and eating the meal.
Exactly. They are smart, and they learn pretty quickly that they can get what they want if the parent is willing to be that short order cook or try and fill them up with their favorites at the end of the meal. Then of course they're going to hold out for that. So it's great to have some of those boundaries in place, and the child and the parent are both aware of them. And then after you've done your job of supplying the food at the snack and meal times, that's it. Then you can trust the child to listen to their appetite, and it may go up and down day to day, but they are very good at that.
Jennifer, speaking with you today has been very helpful in clarifying how to make mealtimes easier. Thank you for sharing your information with us. If our listeners want to find out more information from you, where's the best place for them to get in touch with you?
I think the best place for them to find me right now is my online Facebook group called The Nourished Family, and that's at www.thenourished.family.ca. And I share lots of tips for meal planning and picky eaters and self-care, so helping moms make feeding families easier.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for spending your time with us.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Jennifer.
To learn more about Parenting Power, check out our website, parentingpower.ca, visit our Facebook page, or follow us on Instagram and Twitter @Parenting Power.